So when I was 16 or 17 years old, I first got into the dating game a bit, And I got off to a reasonably good start because at the time I got my very first girlfriend, and we actually like had sex for the very first time. And when that broke off, another girl was waiting in line already, and we were just like goofing around, and I went from success to success. And when I went to the clubs, I would be able to pull at least two or three girls, not bringing them home right away, maybe after a few dates, but at least kissing them. And I was just recently I was just thinking about this, like how in the hell was I so successful? And I just remember that I didn't give a fuck about getting girls, about getting into relationships, about having sex. I was just being my plain old self. I was just like fucking goofing around with them, And that's what was attracting them so much to me, because I did not care. Of course I cared for them as friends, but I didn't care about, I should get sex right away or I should get into a relationship with them. No, I was just like, let me just have a good time, Let's just goof around for a bit. Let me be myself. And as I got older, I started developing the need for, getting a girlfriend, having sex, and I started thinking, at the time I was like 18, 19 years old, and I didn't really had a proper relationship. The very first relationship I told you about was like 5-6 months, but I wanted something more. I wanted something that lasted 2, maybe even 3 years. Something serious. And I also started to developing like a real need for sex, because previously I didn't really had that. And that's when I actually got kind of needy. And I remember just walking up to a fucking wall of not even being too scared to really talk to women, actually. Just not being able to pull that same girls again, which I actually did a few years ago. And at that time, for such a long time, I was just stagnated, at a certain level of not really being able to speak to women, being this needy guy which really wanted a relationship. Whenever I met some girl, when I went on a Tinder date, I was like fully trying to, get her into bed as quickly as possible, trying to escalate and like really trying to manipulate her into getting into a relationship. That was like kind of fucked up. I was really focused on her, really focused on her feelings, like manipulating her feelings. And and at the time, this was like basically a reaction of like emptiness, because I really wanted sex. I really wanted a relationship. I really wanted someone to fill up that void I had in my life, and I thought that like women were the solution at the time. And this was later, like this was when I was 21, 22 years old, And so I got off to a really good start, but after that I like stagnated like quite a bit for a long time, even up to a year ago, I think. And this was like a downward spiral of neediness, of being this guy who was like quite confident and just doing his own fucking thing, not giving a fuck about getting into relationships or having sex, to this guy who was really needy for fucking validation, for attention, for girls, really. And it was actually quite sad, because I wanted it so badly, but I couldn't get it. So at the moment I'm trying to overcome this neediness. I've realized that this is a huge fucking problem in my life. I've realized it since I got into self-improvement, really, like a year ago. And I started realizing this by watching red pill content. I started like watching Hamza's old videos. I started watching Fresh and Fit, and I really realized that women are hoes. Women are fucking hoes. We should just have multiple women on the side, and we should treat her like shit, and then she's gonna validate us, right? To be honest, I got some stuff out of Red Pill, but most of that stuff is like fucking cringe. It's fucking disgusting, actually. Like how they teach you how to manipulate women, and they actually teach you that it's like okay to manipulate women into having a lot of sex with you. And I still think that's coming from the same cycle of neediness, neediness of their attention. And I don't think Red Pill is a good thing, But apart from that, I learned some things. I learned to not place women on a pedestal, which I previously did do. I learned to be a bit more confident around women, not being the nice guy and stuff like this. That's some good shit. And apart from that, I was also getting into NoFap, and I quitted porn completely, So this kind of solved my obsession with sex, because like previously I was like so fucking focused on sex because I was like watching porn and stuff. Whenever I went on a date, I was like thinking about sex all the time, thinking about getting her into bed, trying to manipulate her into getting in my bed. And I had this like huge obsession. I needed sex whenever I went on holiday. The main thing that was on my mind was like having sex instead of like having a fucking good time, and just maybe sex is a part of that in the end, but it's not the main focus, And so when I quit that, I actually like kind of solved my obsession with it, and I just feel a lot less pull towards having sex now. Of course, sex is welcome. It's okay whenever I get into a relationship, but it's not my main focus anymore, and that's like such a relief, actually. So now I'm actually working towards a bigger purpose, because at the time I just had my studies, I just did some, I was like studying, and, I didn't really had a goal. Yeah, sure, studying a bit, partying, drinking. Let me just focus on sex. But now I'm having this like bigger purpose of actually like bringing myself to the next level, and actually like working on a proper business which is gonna help a lot of people. And that's like way more important than just attracting a girl, right? So I can focus on something bigger. I developed some standards as well. That's a really important one, because previously I would have accepted any girl, any girl with some stinky hole. I would have accepted if she looked reasonably, right? I also had some dude, at my time I had some girls which weren't really looking okay. Like you have those girls which are actually like maybe 5s on a scale from 1 to 10, kind of bad, but you do them anyway because you're on holiday and you just want sex, or you're drunk. Fucking sad. So I developed some standards, I finally developed some standards about, which girl I actually wanted. And it just made me realize that, girls should actually do something to earn my attention, I'm not gonna spend my attention on any random girl which is like ruling her life, selling her body to all these other guys, I want a girl who has at least a body count under 5, and maybe that's even like a lot. I want a girl who's like very feminine. At least I know what I want, you understand? So you have to develop some standards for yourself. That's like really important, And one of the most important things, which I actually did when I was younger, was just be myself. Just be yourself, and polarize. So what do I mean by polarize? So whenever you are trying to be nice to everybody, right? Nobody really likes you, but also nobody really hates you, and a lot of people are in that position of like, and to be honest, do you really like the guy in your school which is nice to everybody, who's just not afraid to speak his feelings, afraid to tell what he thinks? Like, nobody really likes that guy, right? So you have to polarize. You just have to be your authentic self and just say what you think, without making everybody look like a fool, but just be your fucking self. When you think something about a specific subject, just speak your fucking mind, even if that's gonna end up making you some enemies, because it's also gonna end up making you some great friends. And that's what's like polarization is. So you're pushing certain people to either hate you or fucking love you. And it's the same with girls, you push that girl to really hate you or really love you, and that's the way you have to go forward. Just be your authentic self without any without any other purpose. I mean, without thinking about manipulating her into getting a relationship with you, with that being someone you are not, being this giga chat guy which you are not. Of course you can develop your confidence and your skills a bit, and I'm still working on this. I just recently realized that this was such a big part of being needy, and I did this by just self-reflection, but I just gave you a huge fucking shortcut, which we had to focus on. So the reason you are being needy is because you are having these ulterior motives of getting into a relationship because you really want a girlfriend, or you really want sex. So you try to manipulate women into liking you. You try to sell something to these women. You try to fucking be a salesman to them. And that's why they don't like you. Who likes a fucking salesman, right? Everybody walks away from salesmen. When some salesman comes up to you in the street, you run away, right? Most people don't give a fuck about salesmen, right? So, yeah, I'm still really working on this. I'm struggling with this. And to be honest, I haven't really had a girlfriend for about a year now. And this was the time since I started self-improvement. So I don't really know if I made any progress, but I just feel that I am not this needy guy anymore. I just feel this pull of being pulled towards sex and having a girlfriend just absolve, just going away. And another one that's really helped me realize this is one book I've read, and it's called Models. I think it's from Mark Manson. It's this book which is totally most of these attracting women books are red pill content. They're okay, The Game. That's one of those books. That's one of those books which is really trying to teach you how to be a pickup artist, how to trying to teach you how to be a master manipulator of women. But that's fucking fake stuff. That's you are learning this skill to manipulate them just to get them into bed, and then what? When you get them into bed, after a few times they finally realize that you're not actually this guy who you are pretending to be. So this book Models really I'm currently at 30% of the whole book, 35%, and it's already really helped me seeing the real fucking reasons why I'm not that good with girls anymore, because I was good with girls. You have to remember, I was properly this guy who had a lot of attention in school from girls. I wasn't that popular around guys, but I did have attention from girls, and I was polarizing, believe me. I was just being my goofy old self, yeah. Spartans, prepare for glory.